Hello guys, welcome to URBONUS podcast. I'm the host Donatas URBONUS and I'm joined by my colleagues Augustas Šuliauskas and Rytis Vyšniauskas. Welcome on board, guys.
Hello, Donatas.
Hey, nice to see you guys again.
Least exciting hey I've heard recently. Although it's our birthday guy actually. Rytis, congratulations. Happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Show some love in the comment section.
And okay, you cannot go wrong with haircuts jokes, but please surprise us with all the
Please
wishes.
respect my helmet. I'm actually having a haircut tomorrow, so it's
Just in case. Yeah.
Did you see
it's time.
Donatas? Did you see Rytis' tweet
Yeah.
about the haircut?
I wanted more respect. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
people are hating too much on my haircut. It's not a haircut, it's just a bunch of hair, actually.
You didn't deserve that kind of pressure.
I want more respect. Sounds
Bullying,
like
yeah.
Yeah,
someone
honestly,
we know.
I had a really nice birthday with free broadcasts in a row, so it was a pretty busy Sunday for me. I actually have a bit of a cold, let's say. That's why my hey sounded not really enthusiastic, but sure as hell, I'm really excited about the EuroLeague, that it started. We had already some great games in the first game week, and I'm really happy once again to see quality basketball with quality refereeing.
Exactly.
I would like to emphasize this. It was such a pleasure to see EuroLeague refs back in action. They spot those things like in Tel Aviv when Poitras touched the backboard while Dimsha was going for a layup. 2 points were counted. I'm 100% sure that in FIBA, refs wouldn't see that, and all the other things we got used to in the Eurobasket. Now in EuroLeague, again, you see there are no unnecessary technical fouls. The refs are keeping up with the pace that the players offer, because obviously in EuroLeague the pace is much higher than in national team basketball. So that's the first thing I want to say about the first game week.
Yeah, we will discuss it quite soon. Of course, the EuroLeague opener is the main topic of this pod, including the BasketNews very first EuroLeague players ranking. But exactly, there was that feeling that nobody stole the spotlight from the players from the start of this game. But let's be honest, actually, the former EuroLeague guy stole the spotlight from the EuroLeague opener in the US market. It's Victor Wembanyama. I mean, with his presence in Vegas, 36.5 points and 4.5 blocks in 2 games against G League Ignite. And I remember it brought me back, to that podcast in August where we were discussing the biggest off-season losses in the EuroLeague. I mentioned Victor Wembanyama, and probably now you see why. I mean, not just because of his game, I don't see him dominating EuroLeague basketball by no chance. But I'm just talking about the general hype he creates. Can you imagine him just returning to EuroLeague after this trip with all the comments, with all the feedback he received from LeBron, from Steph, from Giannis, with all the fans? I believe that they would watch some, at least highlights of Wembanyama in the EuroLeague. You can imagine how his highlights would go viral in social media. I believe more people would go to gyms to watch Aswell away games just to, let's say, witness Wembanyama for the one last season. You can predict many NBA people coming to these arenas, and EuroLeague logo will be all the time around here. So that I think that's a huge loss for the EuroLeague basketball. But in any case, what did you guys took from this hype experience and the whole thing that happened last week?
First of all, I just want to say also a lot of people would be frustrated seeing Wembanyama only playing for 10 or 12 minutes, because in EuroLeague it's all about winning games and not about developing talent. So it's a good thing for him and his career that he's playing in the French league. He has the ability to go and play against the G League talents, against the potential number 2 draft pick. So I don't think that playing in the EuroLeague would create as much hype as we're expecting. We wouldn't have as many highlights as we have right now.
Unless Aswell would have changed the direction completely. Let's say this is Wembanyama's team. We're working for this project for the coming season just to get the buyout, just to get some attention, or to show that this is a good platform for the future prospects to leap to the NBA.
I mean, in EuroLeague, coaches usually have the pressure to win or to at least compete in every game. And developing young players while sacrificing the results, it just doesn't happen in the EuroLeague. It's not built like that. There's no tanking. There's no
There's no purpose for
drafting.
doing
There's
that.
nothing.
Yeah.
There's no purpose in losing. Like, and if you develop Wembanyama, what are you getting from that? He's the number one pick. He's locked as the number one pick, whether he plays in the EuroLeague or not. So as well as organization wouldn't get much from Wembanyama playing extended minutes.
I mean, basketball-wise.
Yeah, I'm talking basketball
Yeah,
wise.
exactly.
I don't really get the commercial idea. Yeah, you're promoting the biggest talent. You're getting all the hype. It doesn't mean that EuroLeague grows to the US market. Wembanyama is going to play in the NBA. Next season, there's no Wembanyama anyways. So
I wouldn't agree with you. I mean, there was a reason why Woj reported that drafting Wembanyama instantly adds around $500 million to any NBA franchise if they're taking him in the
yeah,
draft.
but what does it add to the EuroLeague?
I mean, that's their job, let's say, to monetize Wembanyama's experience. And you
At
can
least,
create a
I
lot
think
of
it's a
value.
long shot. I think it's a very long shot. I mean, we're lucky to have this unicorn type of player in Europe right now. Who knows when we're going to have the next number one pick from Europe. But I don't really see how, at this particular moment, EuroLeague can generate income from teenagers.
I mean, you can make some TV deals outside Europe, for example.
And then you have
to use this Wembanyama experience.
And then you have to tell Asvel, you need to play this guy for 30 minutes.
Maybe.
You need to convince them somehow.
If there was David Stern in the office in Barcelona, maybe that would be the case.
If there was David
Nah,
Stern.
I see your point.
You're sabotaging EuroLeague.
Kind of.
Yeah. Anyway, what was your initial?
What was
question?
your main takes, let's say, from that experience? Because
You mean those?
let's be honest,
G League games.
Games against G League team. Because let's be honest, I think that when US fans watched Wembanyama playing, they were like thinking, "Oh my God, this guy is making 7 3-pointers every game in Europe, and he's something." I mean, the level of these games is questionable, and in Europe, the life is way harder for Wembanyama. So,
No, but I
some
saw him in the
things-
French league in a really competitive environment. I mean, he's not gonna average 36 points in the French league, but the impact on the court is more than obvious.
yeah. No, I
But
mean,
another thing
he's
is that
great, but not on that level. You know,
Yeah.
every given day in every given competition.
and Americans didn't only witness Wembanyama, they witnessed a legit real life player by the name Steve Ho You Fat.
Yeah, that's also true.
Yeah. Anyway, August,
Undiscovered
you've
gem.
been silent for too long. Like, what are your thoughts?
I was just listening.
You were
To the-
doing
to this
you are
conversation.
doing Wembanyama's analysis video breakdown,
Yeah.
right? And
Should
you're
be
actually
out
watching French league
this
games.
week. Yeah, I mean, it was these two games he played in USA were just he could do anything he wanted on the court. Basically, it was just okay, Victor, just take the ball, show whatever you can do. Maybe take those shots that you are not going to take back in the French league. But the kid is just amazing. I'm not going to say anything new. We all know that, but just the physical talent that he is combined with the skills he has is just something I don't think we have ever seen before. And obviously he still has some misses. Nobody's talking about I call them the lowlights.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's social media is not showing these things. Like he still lacks a lot of strength, even though he is so tall and has a crazy wingspan. Teams still go against him in the post. Just stronger center is just pushing him back near the rim and scoring. So he has
Even guards. I mean, Scoot Henderson. Let's give credit to this guy. I mean, he was amazing. He was not shy of attacking Wembanyama at
But
the rim.
everybody
Actually.
remembers the block.
That's true.
Yeah,
Although
that's-
there were
that's
like
because,
at least 5 possessions when Henderson was just killing Wembanyama in the paint.
This is the problem I have with the social media just posting the highlights and never talking about anything else. All we see is the most watched clips and we make conclusions only from that. Obviously he is the number one pick. He will be great and he's a generational talent, but there is also another side that maybe gets a little bit left unseen.
Overshadowed.
Yeah, overshadowed.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. Also, there were some amazing pictures with Wembanyama standing next to Rudy Gobert, and Rudy Gobert all of a sudden looks small.
Yeah.
And Victor said his real height in meters is 220.
221 without
shoes.
Without shoes.
barefoot. Yeah.
Yeah. So
No,
he's still growing, because I remember like a year ago he was listed at 217 or 218.
Could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, just LeBron James said that Wembanyama looks like an alien. Not
Forget
a
unicorns.
Exactly.
we
That's
have
another level.
unicorns now every year. He's an alien.
Mm.
When you get a compliment from a player like LeBron James and he's saying things about you like this,
I mean, you see
tells you all.
something like KD's handles, Porzingis' jump shot.
That's the question I actually had for you guys.
Okay.
I mean, since LeBron told that Wembanyama looks like an alien and he knows alien stuff because he took part in Space Jam 2. And
he shouldn't have done that.
that's another topic. That's another big topic. And probably we're going to discuss some basketball movies in the upcoming episodes.
Yes.
Because we have a lot of reasons for that with the recent one, the Redeem Team documentary on Netflix. But anyway, coming back to the Space Jam topic, let's say Wembanyama is a project of Mr. Schwaghammer, and Wembanyama is actually a project coming off Morn Mountain. I'm talking about Space Jam characters and destinations. And Schwaghammer created him cloning the talents and bodies of the NBA superstars, just as you started. So which talents Wembanyama is cloning? I mean, in terms of his handles, shots, personality, size, defense.
Like I said, like KD's handles, Porzingis' jump shot.
I mean, the shot is also, you could say, KD, handles and the shot.
A little bit, but when it's a spot
The
up shot,
mechanics.
but when it's a spot up shot, it looks more like Porzingis. But off the dribble, you could compare to KD. Personality wise, I'd say he's kind of humble. He's smart. He reminds me of Giannis a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I had the same name.
I mean, but I mean, when you're 18 years old and you're on the cover of Slam magazine, it's kind of easy to I don't know how they say it in English, when you become
Star?
when you become a star, but it's an illness, like star sick or something. I don't know. I don't know how to say it. Like we have žvaigždžių liga term in
star illness, something like that.
So, but he looks nothing like that. He looks really humble and he just loves playing basketball. So I would compare him to Giannis.
Giannis with less dramatic history, probably. He didn't have to go through all these obstacles he had in his life.
For sure. But when you see him in front of the cameras in the interviews, he kind of reminds me of Giannis Antetokounmpo. And you have also Eddie Tavares' size. So
Rudy Gobert.
I would compare him more to Tavares, actually. I mean, I'm talking about his size. And so you're getting Kevin Durant skills, Eddie Tavares' size, and Giannis Antetokounmpo character, something like that.
Sounds like a nice combination.
People might not watch it during the games, but NBA scouts really take consideration into this. Your body language, how you interact with your teammates, how you're walking towards the bench when you are substituted. And he's always clapping. He's always calm. He's always supporting his teammates after bad possessions. That's something I really enjoy watching about this guy. Not from the things he does in the court, because obviously that's next level stuff.
Yeah, there was one good tweet that before or during the French league game, he was like starting the huddle of his teammates during the game, during some tough situation, and which is not very common for
an 18-year-old.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's coming from a good family. He's a smart guy. I mean, these people are taking care of him very well, including the agent Buna and Jaya. He's labeled as the Miško Ražnatović of France, which means he's good at his job, and probably Buna and Jaya and his, let's say, camp were behind this, let's say, shocking but smart move to go to Metropolitans to get Wembanyama ready for the NBA experience.
Actually, Wembanyama is called up to the French national team. We will see him in Panevėžys.
Who is going to guard Wembanyama?
Zeljko.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
We're gonna
Coach
build a wall.
Coach Kemzura has some time to prepare his team for this. Obviously, it's gonna be a competitive game.
It's gonna be a different story.
It's not about player being developed or getting as many touches as possible. So we will see what happens But
He's gonna have the same head coach. Yeah,
it will be his debut in the men's national team, and what a lucky man actually Vincent Collet is. He had the opportunity to coach NBA Finals MVP Tony Parker. He has the opportunity to coach the biggest prospect ever coming from Europe. He might have an opportunity to coach Joel Embiid if he decides to play for France, and the upcoming Olympics are hosted in Paris. So Vincent Collet is really a very lucky man, in my opinion.
The last point about Wembanyama and his whole situation is I just thought about the last time we had a projected number 1 pick in Europe, and it was Luka Doncic, and he was balling out in EuroLeague. He was the MVP of the winning team, and he still didn't get drafted number 1, even though there were some talks. But he was, from our point of view, from a European point of view, he was disrespected by some teams in that draft. Now we have a guy who isn't even playing in the EuroLeague. He's playing against, in a local French league, against G League teams friendly games, and we have him already a lock for the number 1 pick. Just shows you how much the size and physical attributes, how much it does matter in nowadays game. So that's just one point for me that is astonishing, and maybe even more about Luka's situation than Wembanyama's.
You do remember who was the European drafted at number 1? The only European to ever be drafted at number 1 was Andrea Bargnani, and a lot of people were frustrated, disappointed. The Madison Square Garden was just booing him during the draft night, and eventually you can say as a number 1 pick, he flopped. And these things stuck in American minds, like European drafted number 1 was a failure. So it's no surprise that it took 16 years for another European. He's not even drafted yet.
Yeah.
He's going to be drafted number 1. But it took a while, and Luka Doncic was, you can say, overlooked because probably a lot of people were still doubting him, and these past experiences had something with it. And so Ayton was ahead of him, Bagley was ahead of him in the draft, and eventually he was traded for Trae Young.
For 5th pick. I mean, just every European in the top 10 basically was booed in the last
recently.
You
could say that
there were some bad
in a
Europeans.
way, the recent first pick is European, like with Italian roots and Italian passport, Paolo Banchero. But it's a player coming from American system, from an American basketball system, so it's different.
Yeah, but probably
just players that were playing in Europe, let's say. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, let's be honest. I mean, Wembanyama is getting a free pass on a lot of things just because he's a physical freak, and just Steph Curry said he's like NBA 2K my player character.
I mean, he has an upside that no one ever had in the history. So
his ceiling is so high that if he gets an Achilles injury right now, he'll still be drafted number 1 with an injury. Because he's 18 years old. But I wish him all the best, and I hope he'll avoid injuries and stay healthy during the season.
This weekend I was thinking this thing, which is better? Which one do you prefer for your supported team in the NBA? Winning NBA title this year, or being last and drafting Victor Wembanyama?
Being last and drafting Victor because not only the potential basketball value, but the commercial value is so huge. Like winning the title right now is fun and all, but
that's crazy.
In NBA, you're always thinking about the long term. Wembanyama might win you even more titles in the future, and at the same time, all of a sudden you have this opportunity to just make a lot of money from his name by drafting him. And who knows who's gonna draft him? Like my hope is that he ends up in San Antonio.
Exactly.
Because San Antonio, the moment when they traded DeJounte Murray, you knew that this is going to be the tank year. For the first time in his career, Greg Popovich is going to be the tank commander. We'll see how it goes.
Glorious road.
We'll see if they win this lottery. I see like at least 5 teams that can tank in the natural way. And there are some teams that are a little bit too good to start losing games, but they'll figure it out probably.
Yeah, it would have been a perfect setup.
The mock, the draft where they
mock draft.
Not the
Draft
mock
projection?
draft, where they found out the draft picks. Lottery show. Before
Oh.
will be probably even watched more than I don't
The
know.
most watched lottery show probably ever.
Some playoff games, more than some playoff
There's a lot of drama, tears, and faces probably of not getting the first pick.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Nice.
Anyway, getting back to video games, we have our new friends on the podcast, which is World of Warships. World of Warships is a free historical online combat PC game from wargaming with its massive fleet of most iconic war vessels, including 5 different ship classes and a strategically designed environment. World of Warships provides the ultimate naval warfare gaming experience suitable for everyone, and thanks to its largest collection of historically accurate ships available to play, World of Warships prides itself as a digital ship museum and a focal point for naval historic enthusiasts. New thematic content and innovative game modes are being added on a regular basis, providing diverse and exciting gameplay to its broad player base. So, guys, do you play video games? Are you too old for it?
Rytis does, I know.
I do, but sports simulators and Grand Theft Auto, basically.
Okay.
I have consoles at home like PS1, PS2. I don't have the PS3, but I have the PS4 and PS5. I have like collection of FIFA and NBA games.
You have a gamer here.
Goes all the way back to NBA Live 99.
Yeah.
But I don't have enough time to play usually like these.
It's a time killer, man.
Like these RPG type of games or strategic games, they require some time. But in my teenage days, I used to grind like Diablo and
Heroes. There was a game like
Heroes of Might and Magic. Yeah. I used to play all these games on my father's laptop.
Yeah, I was a gamer too.
And then I discovered PlayStation World.
I loved NBA Live. Pro Evolution Soccer was amazing.
It's not sadness. Pro Evolution Soccer
was the best game at that time.
In terms of gameplay, it beats FIFA all the time. It's just sad that they lose in the commercial battle and with all the licensing and obviously. But it's the last year for FIFA as it is right now, actually. There will be some changes.
Okay, so I'm just happy that these video games were not as developed as we can see now, because it's almost like a real life situations, real life graphics. So if it was back in the day when I was like 12, 13 or 11, I would just didn't come out from my house actually because of that.
But it's not necessarily a bad thing. I think that it's underrated, like playing computer games, as long as you don't go insane and play too much and overplay it, gives you a lot of advantages in terms of quick thinking.
There were a lot of scientific researches on that it actually helps.
Yeah, of course. Obviously, some games require certain mental skills, some games don't. I play a lot of Football Manager, actually, and it helps me to prepare for my job. So
scout some players.
You cannot say it's a bad thing that I spend an hour or two playing Football Manager on my laptop.
And fantasy lets you keep up with
fantasy games also. It definitely allows you to keep up all the players, how things are happening. I started the EuroLeague fantasy season actually pretty well, so I'm happy about that.
We don't want
thanks to Bonzi Carlson.
We don't want to talk about it here because
my man Bonzi Carlson, I trusted him from the very first day.
No, he's good. By the way, Augie, you told that you don't have PlayStation or Xbox.
I play some Fortnite with friends, but I played on PC.
There are good news from World of Warships because they're available on Apple and Android mobile devices. So more official information on their official website, worldofwarships.io. Let's talk about EuroLeague basketball and EuroLeague opener. And let's say it would be right to call the game between Barca and Olympiacos kind of the game of the week. We're having 2 Final Four teams, 2 great coach teams with a lot of talent over there. What would be your main insights about that match in Barcelona?
Just that Olympiacos is such a well-oiled machine already in the first game of the season. You know, I saw some patterns in the first, in round 1. Those teams with the most continuity and the old teams from the EuroLeague all won their games. You know, Olympiacos won, Alba won against Partizan, Monaco won against Bologna. You know, these newly promoted teams were kind of having hard time, you know, starting at the higher level. But about Olympiacos is just how well they know everything they want to do, how well they flow into secondary actions. Nobody's wasting time on offense, especially Sasha
who's
Vezenkov.
not wasting time on offense? I mean, we were watching the game with Augustas on Friday here in the office, and we found a new advanced stat which should be introduced in the EuroLeague. It's the biggest efficiency with the least basketball actions, including ball handling and just literally moving. So Sasha Vezenkov would be the leader of
the
this
guy to watch.
department. Yeah.
Mirotic kind of does the same thing sometimes.
I mean, but just
you know,
watch Sasha Vezenkov and the way.
Yeah, I
mean,
agree with
it's
you.
just-
And you know what? Like, I was talking about this for the past couple of weeks, that I can see a lineup where Vezenkov is more as a number 3 with Peters as a number 4. And it was perhaps the best lineup
used
for
it.
Olympiacos. They used it for like extended minutes in the second quarter, and it worked. Like Tariq Black was the number 5, or Joel Bolomboy. Barcelona found out quite early in the first quarter that it's not going to be the game where Mustafa Fall dominates, and they should stick to the smaller lineup. Joel Bolomboy had a fantastic game. He was actually the MVP in numbers.
Yeah.
The two players that gave the TV interviews for Olympiacos were not Slukas or Vezenkov. They were Larentzakis and Bolomboy. And defense, especially in the first half, was just crazy. Like, I love the way they switch and then they re-switch in the middle of like Jokubaitis driving to the left. So there's Thomas Walkup all of a sudden again next to him.
It's crazy how hard. Imagine they switch, you don't have advantage. Then you try to pass the ball into the post, but the Olympiacos front. So you decide, okay, so I have a big guy, I'm going to drive because, they're fronting, there's going to be a lane open. And then you're driving and there's another time, one more guy in front of you. So this defense is, already, their offense and defense is already in, like, let's say mid-season shape. Obviously, it's not, there were some mistakes and stuff like that, but you cannot compare that with other teams I saw from round one.
Yeah, and in the fourth quarter, Slukas is just sitting on the bench. Meanwhile, Larentzakis is hitting daggers. 4 from 4.
Larry is a legend. I mean, he's called Larry in Olympiacos, and we also agreed. I mean, Augustas was just shouting when Larentzakis
Did you say Larry Legend? Are you comparing Larentzakis
I don't know.
to the great Larry
Let's
Bird?
leave it for our followers. No. We had this bet last week with 5 predictions, and if Augustas wins the bet, we will buy him Larentzakis t-shirt. That's what he actually wanted after that game.
Fair
because
enough.
he was just shouting here and just exploded.
Well,
exploded
every
from
coach
his emotions.
would love to have a player that is so devoted to his task. Playing defense is like a hobby for him. He has a lot of passion, and also he improved a lot his confidence, his jump shot. Now he trusts himself more on offense. Not only he hit 2 spot-up shots, he hit 2 3-pointers off the dribble with the last second of the shot clock. And he basically killed the game with those shots. So that's pretty amazing. Like in the first half, he played just sporadic minutes, and all of a sudden in the second half, he becomes a game changer. And I remember last season in Palau, it was more of the same story, just that Barca won in the overtime. But Larentzakis also out of nowhere started hitting 3-pointers and making all these big plays.
He's becoming one of my most favorite role players, and he's my first nominee of the year for this John Brown Alberto Diaz award winner. And Larry, he never lack of confidence. I talked with some guys in Olympiacos, and they said that, I mean, he feels that he can guard LeBron James. I mean, that's how confident he is, and it's part of his devotion for the game. He thinks that everybody on the court is equal, and actually, his confidence in himself and his belief in his role was kind of the problem at the beginning when he was working with Yorgos Bartzokas and Olympiacos last year, because it was hard for him to accept his role, let's say, to be the guy just coming off the bench and being 4th or 5th guard on the rotation. And but as soon as he kind of adjusted to it, as soon as he saw that he might be as effective role player, not only in Olympiacos, I love him in Greek national team as well. I think that he also now notices how good it is for him, and he's not very consistent. Let's say mental-wise, because he's very consistent going through these highs and lows. But when he finds his rhythm through defense, I mean, he can be very valuable piece, as he was in the game against Barca.
He's just getting a lot of experience. I mean, with age, he's going to be more consistent. And
It's his only second year in the EuroLeague. He's 29, so he's kind of late bloomer in terms of being very good local role player for a Final Four contender.
And he just has this Olympiacos DNA. Like, when Olympiacos were winning Final Fours, it was because of Spanoulis, but also because of their defense. And was always a very tough team with a lot of character. And Larentzakis just has this like Olympiacos DNA, which is another thing I love about him. Also, what I would like to say is that Yorgos Bartzokos really feels his team very well. Usually he has like more or less prepared rotation, how many minutes each, maybe the key players will have to play. However, in this case, like he tried with Shaq McKissick, he saw it's not working out, so he didn't include McKissick in the rotation after the halftime. And Isaiah Cannon got 2 quick fouls and he went to the bench. But that didn't stop Bartzokos from trusting Cannon to play the third quarter. And in the third quarter, Cannon scored 9 points. Also, for Cannon, it was kind of a big comeback to Palau because, you know, like last season, he was famous for shushing the crowd. and
I was expecting Larentzakis or, doing that.
I think when Cannon left the gym outside, he was like doing something like this.
I think they talked about it after the final whistle because they had some kind of a chatter there going on. But
and, you see how easy it is when you keep the core to incorporate solid role players like Alec Peters, Joel Bolomboy,
Tariq Black.
They have their specific roles and they're playing their roles. And the key players are still there, the same from the last season, like Slukas, Vezenkov, and also the same coach, the same system. And for Barca, you see big name players, but at this point of the season, it's not really clear what lineups they want to play, what is their best lineup, how they want to end games, how they want to play in the fourth quarter, who they're going to trust in crucial moments. Right now, Laprovitola looks like the guy probably.
Again, Corey Higgins.
But
he was good flow into this.
In the second half, Corey Higgins had some buckets, but he's still not in his best shape probably.
For sure.
And Satoransky, Jokubaitis in this game, they sort of disappeared, I would say. And they didn't have Mirotic, they didn't have Kuric, they lacked shooters. And also, the free throw numbers tell you a lot. Like, Olympiacos hit 25 free throws.
From 25.
Barca at home only had 13 free throws.
And Olympiacos was playing aggressive defense.
Yes.
And just coming back to Larentzakis thing, why I like him so much, and why I like players like him, because he seems like he is, one of us. This is the same why everyone likes Steph Curry, because he's not 2 meters and 5 centimeters, and he's not jumping, he doesn't have a vertical leap of 1 meter or something like that. He seems like he's one of us that just made it to the highest level, and he plays his heart out every time he's on the court, That's why, when he's successful, when players like these 2 guys are successful, is just such a nice story for me, and this is why I want the jersey.
Yeah,
that's fair.
And you mentioned Joel Bolomboy. I mean, there was a very good contrast between him and Hassan Martin picture from the last year, and we just watched Alba Berlin, Red Star and Efes game, and then we turned on this Barca Olympiacos game. And there was a specific situation where Hassan Martin was posting up, and there were like 2 defenders of Efes, and there was a clear pass beyond the arc with the guy open, and Hassan Martin noticed him just in the last second, and he was fouled. So they just missed a good 3-point opportunity. Then you have Joel Bolomboy, and he's starting 2 of these Larentzakis 3-pointers in the fourth quarter started from Joel Bolomboy just doing good thing at passing the ball after the short roll or just reading the double team.
And that was also Satoransky's mistakes there.
Yeah.
To be honest,
I
saw Sharar so mad at Satoransky, The help was not needed there on those couple of short rolls, and Satoransky was just so far away from Larentzakis when that's the only thing he can do on
especially
the court,
in the corner.
Spot up shots, and just
No, but just in general, I mean, Bolomboy's presence not only defensively but offensively, he was the best player per plus and minuses in the second half by far. And Mustafa Fall actually had a bad game, which happens. And I mean, Mustafa Fall was -7 and Bolomboy was +10 in the second half. It tells a lot how important he was behind this victory.
No, not only Bolomboy, also Tariq Black gave them solid minutes in the second quarter, which means that they replaced Hassan Martin with Bolomboy. You could say it might be an upgrade, even though Martin, before a couple of injuries, was really great as an undersized center. And also, they signed Tariq Black instead of Quincy Acey. He didn't even play this season. And Tariq Black, you can see that as a third center, as a third option, he's really trustworthy. He has enough experience, he has enough athleticism and everything else that's needed. And like I said, I just love the lineup with Peters as a 4 and Vezenkov as a 3. So Barcelona this year has even more options to play different lineups than he had last season when they went to the Final Four.
Yeah, and just as you mentioned about these lineups with Vezenkov as the 3 man, Vezenkov was a small forward and second and third best line of Olympiacos in this game. So it tells also a lot about.
I mean, when in the second quarter, when they cracked the game, let's say open, when Olympiacos got the run, it was, I mean, basically all game they were playing the Spain pick and roll, the one they are masters of, and Barca had a lot of problems, and Barca were switching the Spain pick and roll in the second quarter when Olympiacos got the run, and it was Bolomboy who got 2 offensive rebounds in a row against La Provitola under the basket. They scored, I think, 8 points after 3 offensive rebounds. And it was, but just overall, all the game, they run this Spain pick and roll action at such a high level. It's going to be really interesting to see how teams, adjust, because we saw Barcelona not switching in the second half, and it's going to be, an adjustment in the upcoming games for everyone who plays Olympiacos.
It was interesting to see that Shara started with Vesely on
walk-up.
Yeah. Kalinic was doing his thing with Vezenkov, and Vesely started on walk-up. And the first quarter for Barca was good, actually. They were leading 16-13. Olympiacos only hit some accidental shots, I would say. They only had 1 assist in the first quarter, but maybe part of the reason was that they had Mustafa Fall on the court, and in this case, he was not really effective as a big center. But the scary thing to me is that now Žalgiris has to play Olympiacos. It's like they look like the best prepared team for the season from what we saw in the first round.
I believe
best prepared with the best,
chemistry
pool of players.
Yeah, because we know that like FS and Real Madrid, they have more talent, but they might need a little bit more time because of various reasons. They have some newcomers. Real Madrid has a new coach, and things need time. Like they didn't have a very good game against Pau, even though they won.
And Barcelona also needs
time.
They
need time, not only to build the team with what they have right now, but they need time to get back with Nikola Mirotic and Kyle Kuric on the court.
Even Higgins, he's just back to the rhythm. And I mean, they're on a tough schedule. They're hosting Real Madrid this week. Then the next week is going to be a double game week. And they're going to Munich and Kaunas. I mean, not
probably we have to stop using words tough schedule, because right now there's no such thing as an easy schedule. Yeah.
But as we discussed with...
what would be the easy schedule in the EuroLeague? You're playing 2 home games out of 3. And
double game week where you play Asvel and... Maybe, but that's not necessarily an easy game.
Yeah.
And then on Sunday you play at home also in ACB League against Fuenlabrada or Zaragoza. That could be a
3 games of EuroLeague. I mean, without looking at the, let's say, ACB. What would be the 3 teams?
So you need a double game week at home. You play Asvel, and let's say you play
I don't know,
Alba at home, because you don't want to play them in Berlin.
You don't want to play them in
and
Berlin.
Then maybe you
Partizan Belgrade.
And then maybe you go to Kaunas, but that's not easy.
That's not an easy game.
It's not easy. You there's a good odd that you'll lose at least one of these 3 games. So I don't know. There's no such thing as an easy schedule right now, obviously.
Yeah, and talking about Partizan, I mean, there was that moment where Zeljko Obradovic started his pre-game interview with, "Hey, let's just be happy about Partizan coming back to the league." And like in that meme, 1 hour later, they're down by 26 in the 13th minute of the game. Procida is just dunking with all these putbacks, making corner threes, and they're down by 26. I mean, what were, I don't know if Rytis, you managed to watch that game.
I didn't see the full game.
Yeah, August watched that game as well. I mean, what's wrong? What's not clicking with Partizan so far?
So I have a couple points, but let's start with this one. Their front court for me needs something more there. I don't know how to say that. I mean, it's a small sample size. It's only one game. It's an away game for a newly constructed team, so they will need time. But Koprivica started the game, didn't really do well. Zach Lide seemed out of place offensively, like a lot of Partizan players did. There was a lot of, this you go there, Zeljko is doing this.
Even offensively, that was the same from the first possession, actually.
Yeah, I'm talking about offense right now. Yeah. People just didn't know where to be, where to start the offenses. And with Alba pushing you out of the set plays, like first set play, we see Ponta running out of the screen. He's supposed to get a ball on 45, and there's just Alba denying him, and then Partizan goes into complete crisis. So yeah, I was talking about the big guys. And then they tried with, these two guys struggling, Koprivica and Lide, they tried in the second quarter, they played a small ball lineup with Papapetru playing at the 5. They had a lineup with which it was Exum, Andjusic,
Nunnally probably?
Punter, Nunnally, and Papapetru on the court.
Wow, one of the most random
that's an extreme small ball.
Extreme small ball, and it didn't work at all. Like Alba was getting all the rebounds offensively, and their plan was extremely simple: just give the ball into the post and test Partizan's defensive rotations. And there was a lot of easy lob passes. There was the rotations were 1 second late everywhere. A lot of open threes. And you don't want to give an open freeze to a team like Alba in the first home game because you have a huge crowd behind them. The team gets energy, and this is exactly what happened. So, and offensively for Partizan, this small ball lineup didn't even work. Like Alba was doing things like Olympiacos, let's say, did, playing really good one-on-one defense. If you are driving, there is help. So, and this is where they went into this 26-point deficit in the second half. So, I just don't see enough of faces in the front court if things don't go really well from the start. And I mean, it's only one game, but I think they will be looking for something there, an extra guy.
Just to add, that extreme small ball lineup was -10 in a stretch of 3 minutes, and that was the worst lineup actually of the game.
Yeah, they didn't score in 4 straight possessions. Papapetru missed 2 shots. I think Punter missed 1. And they got scored on every possession.
But you just gotta love the ball movement of Alba Berlin. Like 31 assists, they had 61 points after 2 quarters. You have,
it's easy to pass when the defense is so.
I know, and when you have a passing big man like Luke Sigma,
yeah.
Also the guards were dishing assists. Amir Blat, Maodolo. You could say that some of the players didn't even perform as well as expected. Like for Jalen Smith, the shots were not going in, and we were expecting him to have a better second season in Berlin, but as a team they performed to such a high level that Partizan was just outplayed. The game could have ended after the second quarter, honestly.
61 points.
They couldn't make a proper comeback. I believe they managed to cut it to 11
or 12, I think. But that's something like that.
That's as near as they went, and Alba Berlin just always responded, and that's the style they play. And you see more or less the same roster from last year. They know each other very well. The chemistry is really good. This team is built around good characters, good leaders like Luke Sigma. So you have to give respect to them. And for Partizan, obviously, from this game, you need to take a lot and realize that it's not going to be easy.
It wasn't a typical, let's say, game from Obradovic's team. It was a sloppy beginning. It was, Exum was great in offensively, but he was really slow getting around screens, so they scored 2 early 3-pointers because of that, and they got out of an easy run out of that. And then, the switch all defense that is supposed to be the main, let's say, catalyst, the main base of Partizan's defense was just too many mistakes, too many easy baskets. And the last thing was fouls before bonus. You know, Obradovic is, all in on this question. So after 8.5 minutes in the first quarter, Partizan had, I think,
one or two.
They fouled once in the first 8.5 minutes in the first quarter, one time. 26 points in those 8.5 minutes. In the next...
in the quarter when they are allowed 33 points.
Yeah, they also fouled, didn't reach the team foul limit. So it was really strange. But these are all, let's say mistakes that can be fixed during the practices and just with more time. So
and they're lacking chemistry because they had a lot of injuries during the preseason. I mean, like around 5 guys being in and out. They still have injured players, including Alex Avramovic, for example, or even Jan Madar. He was not 100% healthy for the situation. They're missing Smailagic. I mean, they don't have any chemistry, both offensively and defensively, and that's why, as you mentioned, you see some bad signs about the team, what they're missing, but at the same time, it's also very important not to overreact after the first game, and that's so far as the initial idea of Partizan, just to wait for everybody to get healthy, to get back on track, then to build the team, to build the chemistry, and see what's missing and what's not. Because so far from what I'm hearing, they're, let's say, looking at the market for a point guard and for a center, but if they will do any moves, that's still not clear yet. But if that happens, for example, what would you prefer to add, a point guard or a center to this team?
Point guard.
I don't know, both.
Both probably, but if I had to pick one, I'd say a point guard. But again, I need names. I need to see what quality can they bring.
Oh, okay, so far
Obviously, it would be a quality center over average point guard. But if it's Campazzo we're talking about, then that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, of course. Campazzo theoretically is on the market, although the GM Zoran Savic told that they didn't talk to him at all. We can just check the market. There's Luka Vildoza, and also there was a big speculation actually behind the scenes that Nigel Williams-Goss might be the guy if Campazzo comes back to Real Madrid. Then they need to find some team for Nigel Williams-Goss, and why not to come back to Partizan because they're looking for the point guard. Although I'm not so sure if that's the point guard they actually need for this team. Who would you choose from, let's say, Vildoza and Goss, because Campazzo is a no-brainer?
Williams-Goss.
Me too.
Vildoza is just basically a pick-and-roll shooter. I wouldn't call him a floor general.
They don't need, they don't need another shot creator in my eyes. They need just someone who would
orchestrates the offense.
Yeah,
right. Okay.
Because they have enough guys at the second, third, and fourth position that can score points, that can play pick and roll, that can handle the ball and go in transition. So,
you know what? Another thing I wanted to say is actually we're talking more about Partizan, even though they lost. I want to say that Alba Berlin organization deserves a lot of respect for always thinking outside the box. Like ever since Eddie Tavares started this trend that every team needs to have at least one giant center, and all the elite clubs are looking for those, and there are not too many on the market. At one point, they gambled with Chris Kumajé, and I remember his first games in the EuroLeague, you thought like...
It's the first time he's playing basketball.
It's not going to work out. Like, he doesn't have anything. But they trusted him, they were patient, and now you can see that he changes the game during the minutes he plays on the court. Even in this game, he had a monster dunk. He finished with 8 points and 6 rebounds. 3 of those were offensive rebounds. So they found the giant they needed in this modern day basketball, when you're always looking for mobile bigs, for bigs that can shoot the ball. But at the same time, you want to have that huge body that can cover 12 or 15 minutes and do a lot of damage.
Because everybody now has one, like not everybody, but a lot of...
Mustafa Fall, Yusuf Afal, Eddie Tavares. Those are the prime examples. Yeah. And Alba Berlin just found a player that was overlooked and nobody really thought that this could be a EuroLeague center.
Yeah, they're always finding some interesting pieces, including Gabriele Procida, for example.
Mm.
Very, very good game for him. He got this confidence with early 3-pointers, then these putbacks. I mean,
a dream start.
Oh yeah, I agree. I mean, he was fun to watch. I mean, some guys, okay, they didn't perform as we're expecting, but guys like Tamir Blatt, they just overachieved. I mean, making 4 of 8 3-pointers.
For Alba, it's never about the individual. It's always about the team. You will not have a EuroLeague game where all 12 players played at their best.
Yeah,
but
and it's not just about scoring the ball. Yeah.
Luke Sigma with a silent 15, 6, and 7.
Exactly. I mean, there were a lot of interesting games, tough games in round one. What would be your, let's say, main first impressions? Probably you all watched Panathinaikos Real Madrid, right? Maybe
No, I didn't. I watched Žalgiris Maccabi. I watched Bayern Fener. I watched Monaco Virtus and a little bit of FS Zvezda.
What main conclusions do you have from the round one?
I don't know. I don't have any general conclusions. I see that those teams that made a lot of roster changes during the summer, they're still struggling a little bit to find their rhythm, find their way. Like the prime example is Žalgiris Maccabi, freshly built teams with a lot of changes, with new coaches, and the game had so many ups and downs. Like at one point, it looks like Maccabi doesn't play any defense at all. All of a sudden, after the halftime, they come with a new energy. They start pushing Žalgiris players. They start dominating. They make the run. And then you're thinking like the game's over when they have a 12-point lead. Then Žalgiris out of nowhere makes a comeback with a lineup that is more than questionable talking about their potential scoring abilities, and just Tomas Dimša starts hitting some shots, and Žalgiris was like one possession away from winning the game or stealing the game from Maccabi.
0.1 seconds, actually.
Yeah. So this is what you get when you have two teams that were rebuilt during the summer with a lot of new signings, with a lot of players being replaced, and also with new coaches. And the teams that had continuity, like Augis mentioned in the beginning of the podcast, Alba, Olympiacos, they were most consistent and they were the best teams during the first round.
It was, for me, interesting how all these new EuroLeague newcomers, new players, kind of struggled. I mean, not all of them for sure, but a lot of them had tough games. You know, Cassius Winston had a really tough game against Fener.
Tough timeouts as well.
And tough timeouts as
Carson
well.
Edwards also struggled. Although he
didn't look bad, but he
didn't make shots.
Yeah,
he had to step up because Wilbekin's injury.
Game.
Yeah,
I mean, if he's not making shots, you can't really say he's having a great game. But I liked his energy. I liked him defensively. I enjoyed the first view of Fenerbahce.
Yeah.
I mean,
I love Nicolaitis from the very first possession.
Amazing.
Yeah.
A completely different player.
Nigel Hayes-Davis also. You know what these two players have in common?
Nah. I told you about this 44% of Nigel Hayes hitting threes, but Shad is not his head coach. So I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
watching him
Fenerbahce
scoring
just
the
looked
ball.
The research investigated.
They looked very solid.
Again.
They looked very solid defensively also. Like Bayern Munich were staying in the game because Otello Hunter was hitting jump shots, 3-pointers. So it was a tough game for Trinchieri. Like Lucic couldn't find his rhythm, and the newcomers, they struggled.
No one really
also.
from Bayern.
Typical start of the season for Bayern. They're gonna start like 0-5 and something like that, but they're gonna make the playoffs in the end. So it's
But Jonathan Motley, for example, another newcomer, he had a foul trouble, but I love his passing. The way he was reading the defense.
He's amazing. When you saw the 2 times he got the ball inside, there was like 3 people around him. Immediately passed out for open 3-pointers.
Exactly. That's such an underrated ability for centers. Like not too many centers have that feel, and Motley is very good at this. He had like struggles finishing under the rim. He could have scored a lot more points with layups, but that's not a problem. That's not a huge issue. You can see that he's a center that Dimitris Itoudis loves to have on his team. And also Jakiri as a backup center had solid minutes. And just in general, Fenerbahce outplayed Bayern Munich, and that was a well-deserved first win for them. The other team from Istanbul also won. Will Clyburn, dominant performance, I would say.
He's just coming here, taking over, and he's clear leader of that group.
Exactly. And obviously,
it's just the first game.
Of
You
course,
can't
but
say clear leader, but
for that,
you will not
given
see
night.
him hitting those fadeaway shots every time. Like in this game, since he stepped on the court, he started hitting shot after shot, and then grabbed some offensive rebounds, and in general was unstoppable. Even though Zvezda had a good first half, I would say. In the second, they just couldn't get a bucket. And my highlight of the week was obviously Mike James. Just killing and destroying Bologna.
26 points, right?
Yep.
The MVP.
Yeah, when he's focused like this, when he's aggressive, and his mind is just about basketball and about his team, he can beat anybody. Like Virtus Bologna, in my eyes, yeah, they found some mismatches with their bigs, with Mamjete in particular, but they couldn't cope with Mike James, and they didn't have enough creativity from their own ball handlers. Like if Lundberg was struggling, and you could feel in a game like this, in an open game, Milos Teodosic would do a lot for them. He was out injured, he couldn't play, and they finished only with 66 points, and it was like a very comfortable win, I would say, for Monaco.
We'll discuss all these teams more in depth in the upcoming podcast for sure. It's really tough to have.
Need to pick some most interesting games, and like I said, when these games clash with each other, I try to watch them before I go to sleep on tape delay. Do you remember I said to you, like, just don't spoil to me the scores because I want to watch Bayern and Fenerbahce.
And I suggested you taking that game over
and you said like you should watch Pau Real Madrid, but that was too late.
Yeah, although I warned you that maybe just get back to the plan of watching Panathinaikos and Real Madrid.
I watched actually Panathinaikos and Real Madrid the other day drinking coffee because it was on TV. So I watched it a little bit.
They were so close of winning that game. They were just Grigonis was missing some good shots.
It was his worst career night
stretch, I would say. He's 2 of 23 in Super Cup against Olympiacos, and then in the game against Real Madrid. And he was missing good shots.
Yeah, Real Madrid didn't play very well.
Of course.
But getting the W is what matters.
Yeah, so we'll discuss all these teams more in depth in the upcoming episodes. And today, let's conclude the pod with the players ranking we did last week, ranking top 50 players in the EuroLeague. What were your biggest? Let's start with the surprises, and then let's go to snubs.
I have 2 surprises. Like, first of all, ranking Canan Musa at number 16 is really generous. I believe he can play up to that level, but so far
at this moment,
at this moment we haven't seen him delivering in the EuroLeague, and there are so many EuroLeague vets left behind him in the ranking. So I was really
He's
surprised.
higher than Gabriel Deck and
and
a lot of good players. Just you name it.
Other players.
Wilbekin,
I would say
Higgins.
I'm a bit surprised about like Kevin Pangos being so much higher than Nicolaitis. Like Kevin Pangos being at number 10. Yes, I know he had an amazing season with Xavi Pascual. But let's remember, he really struggled in Barcelona, and those days for him playing in Žalgiris
he didn't play in Cleveland at all last season.
Žalgiris had a poor first season, then an amazing second season. Like we know that he has everything basically to be a good successful point guard in an elite EuroLeague team, but the gap between him and Nicolaitis in this ranking to me is unfair.
What about Satoransky at 13?
Again, I could say the same thing. Like, Kalaitis is too low, and Pangos,
Satoransky is too high.
Satoransky, both in my eyes, are too high.
I don't have such a big problem with Pangos, but
top 10 player. That's
he's a 10.
Yeah,
he's 10.
I mean,
Nicolas Laporitola.
He could prove to be a top 10 player. I'm not denying that.
I think a lot of people, 33 journalists, coaches, GMs, other players, they were living with that memory of him being the floor general.
Yeah, that's recency bias.
Exactly.
We call it.
Just like it worked with Canan Musa when we saw him, crazy performance in Eurobasket and last season in Spain. Yeah. And Nicolas Laporitola, I think he's also one of the bigger surprises. Being 26th, ranked over Nick Kalaitis and many other great players, including Wade Baldwin, one of my
what do you think about
snubs.
Wade Baldwin being left out of the top 50?
It's not fair. It's not fair. I mean, I think that everybody was, let's say, concerned about his character, about his
People were not
personality.
ranking his skills. People were ranking him the
Of
way
course,
he functions in a
When
team.
you rank somebody, it has to be some combination. But
an
I
overall
think his talent
view,
was
I'm saying.
disrespected because he can be great offensively, and when he is in his zone, he can be very good defensively as well.
Yeah,
So,
who wants to tell me that Marko Guduric is a better basketball player than Wade Baldwin?
or Akila Polonara, for example.
Yeah.
Without
Or Marius
disrespecting anybody of them.
Grigonis.
Yeah, exactly.
Or aging Chacho Rodriguez.
Yeah.
You're not rating his experience. You're like rating what can he give to the team right now.
Who would you take to
Or
your
Ife
team?
Lundberg even. Like Ife Lundberg
That's a
is
good
rated higher than Wade Baldwin.
But
Who
it depends.
who would you take to your team? Chacho Rodriguez or Wade Baldwin?
It depends on what team.
Yeah.
If it's Real
Yeah.
Madrid, it's Chacho. If it's Žalgiris, then it's Wade Baldwin. I need someone that can bring my team higher.
That's why it's so hard to
So-
rank the players, actually.
Yeah, and actually we saw for the first time Lorenzo Brown playing together with Wade Baldwin, and I don't think it was very, very good. Like, it helped that Wade hit 3 long distance shots, but that's not.
I
what
want
he
I
does
want to
usually.
see a bit more of that
Yeah.
to
I agree
make
completely,
some
but it
conclusions.
looks like it has to be Lorenzo's team, and he had a double with points and assists. But obviously, we loved Bonzi Colson's off the ball movement and so many cuts, so many times he just saved their possessions by cutting to the paint and getting the pass from Lorenzo and finishing with a layup and 4 blocks also.
By the way, Darren Hillard is injured his knee, and it might be
Yes.
serious. Just some
Oh.
hot news we got to know during the pod. So
But they have Austin Hollins, they have Wade Baldwin, they have Di Bartolomeo. They should cope with it. But it's a shame that Darren Hillard, such a talented player,
yeah,
gets injuries all the time. Last season
Mm.
in Bayern, he also had quite a few injuries.
yeah, he appeared on only 40% of the EuroLeague games. So actually, Baldwin was the first outside the top 50, according to our ranking. Who else was snubbed as well?
I have Steven Enoch at 88. I think people, I mean, at least from my point of view, this rating is like kind of projection for this season, and I think he is going to, be a beast this year.
Let's say it's a combination of the previous season, this summer as well, if somebody performed in Eurobasket, and of course,
Of
projection
course.
for the upcoming season.
Yeah, so I think he, let's say for now, okay, he's 88, but 88th, but after the end of this season, I think he will be much higher. value.
Borderline top 50 player, for example.
If
At
not,
least.
yeah.
Yeah. Although when Kotsar is playing so well, I mean, that's gonna be
Oh.
that could be a nice front line in Vitoria. James Nunnally was also 79th. I mean, that's too low.
79. Yeah,
He's
that
very
is too low
skilled.
because he had a good
great
season in Maccabi.
I mean, he's gonna be an important player for Partizan. He was their top scorer in the
He's a
first season.
proven EuroLeague vet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He won with Zeljko before.
But-
I mean, there were some interesting results. Let's say.
Do you
of
agree
this
with
ranking.
the top 5 completely?
Let me go back. What?
It's Eddie
I mean-
Tavares, Shane Larkin, Mike James, Nikola Mirotic, and Vasa Mitic.
I think I'm kind of okay
Mm.
ranking Vasa over Mirotic because Mirotic is injured.
I mean, you can't rank, two-time champion and two-time finals MVP not number one. I think it's just because of their winning and him winning
Yeah.
an MVP once and winning.
there are no signs
Final
that he
MVP.
cannot perform at that level the upcoming
The only
season.
guy I would have in the top 5 is Will Clyburn, though.
I love the list of 3 names that are outside of the top 5, like Vezenkov, Clyburn, and Yabusele. I love all 3 of these players. I would love to have them on my team.
But except Clyburn is just, I would love to have them both, Vezenkov and Yabusele, but I just don't think you can rank them in the top 5.
No, you
because-
can't. You can't.
Because just other guys are making so many plays for these two.
Obviously, you cannot rank them any higher. But, Yabusele, if you rank the power forward, let's say, and if you're locking Mirotic as number 1, despite his injury,
2-3.
then you have the discussion between Vezenkov and Yabusele, and they're different players, obviously. Like Vezenkov can play as a 3, Yabusele can play as a 5.
Yeah.
But man, I love both of them. Like really, sometimes it's unfair to rank them. Like they are different and they're both great.
Donatas could tell you how I was just in AVE about Vezenkov on Friday, just seeing all the things he does. I just love to follow his movement on the court, and
he moves like a veteran,
he
but
moves
in
like
a good way.
He
I
moves,
mean,
yeah.
he takes the most efficient of that situation.
He moves like veteran, but at the same time, he has so much energy and he covers so much ground, just running and cutting all the time whenever he thinks there is a shot coming up. So to go for offensive rebound is just...
And last season,
amazing to watch.
we saw him very often playing like 35 minutes in regular season games. Right now, Olympiacos is built better, so they will not need to play him like for 35 minutes usually. 27 will be more than enough.
With Alec Peters, yeah.
Yep.
It was actually so fun to watch the game with Augustas because he watched so many Šaras games, both in Žalgiris and Barca, that I mean, it's just the regular inbound play during the game, and he says like, okay, so Shanli now he will pop out and he will make a three-pointer.
It wasn't the regular. It was like 2 seconds left. So they needed a quick
just
shot.
a regular play, because every play he could see some things before it actually
So
happened.
it's like watching the game and having the playbook next to you, right?
Exactly. It actually is a spoiler alert at the same time, so I'm still have mixed feelings on
You
that
don't know if
experience.
the shot's gonna go in.
That's true. That's true. But it's
The only
then
part.
the game is so obvious when Augustas is on your right. So anyway, there is some other spoiler alert as well. We're planning to release the EuroLeague GM survey this week on off-season signings, upcoming season predictions, some other intriguing topics, including the EuroLeague Final Four format changes and some other things. Best of season signings, who will be the next NBA player coming from the EuroLeague, who will win the MVP trophy, and EuroLeague in general. So there are going to be a lot of interesting things to discuss next week, including the round 2 games this week.
I'm looking forward to Thursday night, like Monaco FS. That's the one I gotta watch, and after that,
Real
Barca
Madrid,
El
Barca.
El Clásico.
And who's on Friday? Fenerbahce Maccabi. And what's the next game you're picking? Or just watching Fenerbahce Maccabi?
I mean,
because all the
obviously
games
I will be
clash.
stuck with Žalgiris or Olympiacos. That's
Yeah.
obvious. And then the other game I will try to watch is probably Fenerbahce Maccabi.
Okay, guys, it was a pleasure to spend this hour with you. See you next week, and don't forget to, first of all, to click the like button below this video, and then to subscribe this Basket News channel, because it really helps us to grow. Rytis and Augis, Augustas Šuliauskas, Donatas Urbonas. Thanks for watching, and see you next week.